What's going on, guys? Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the Fire and Ice Pack colorways of the Nike Mercurial Vapor Flyknit Ultra. Now this, of course, is a limited edition release where the Flyknit Ultra has made a return, this time in the form of a fire-themed colorway featuring a bright red, pinkish, orangish yellow, multicolor oil slick sole plate, and a blue one that just looks more blue, but both of which really, really nice. Of course, a limited edition release. So we're gonna go over all the details of this shoe, take a closer look at the specifics of this colorway, and talk about the general performance characteristics of what is honestly probably one of the best shoes of 2017. So if you want to learn more, stick around and watch the entire video. And if you're interested in a pair for yourself, by the time this video goes up, some of them will have released and sold out, but there are still going to be more releasing on different days at all kinds of different retailers. So if you want more info on how to actually get a pair of Flyknit Ultras before it's too late, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen to a video that I made a couple of days ago explaining the best way to go about getting a pair of these if you really, really want them. So if you want them, check out that video. Otherwise, let's move on. Included with the boots is, of course, a special Flyknit Ultra branded box and a Flyknit Ultra branded string bag. So Flyknit Ultra, two different colorways, fire and ice. Let's start with fire. I wasn't gonna throw a chill. Anyways, here is the Fire Pack colorway, which you can see features the exact same black upper that we saw on the first two launch colorways, which I know a lot of people, because of that, are gonna ask the question, why are they only making these in black? Can they not make it in other colors? I assume that they can. I don't see why they wouldn't be able to. It would just be a matter of changing the color of the Flyknit material that obviously is made by a machine, but they're choosing to use black for whatever reason. And honestly, I think it suits the design of the shoe. It's sleek with that little pop of color on the sole plate itself. These being arguably more colorful than the first one. So black for the entire upper, and then red is your accent color for the outline of the Nike swoosh on either side, the Mercurial branding at the back. You do have the little Italian flag there at the top of that. The reason why that's there is because all of the Flyknit Ultras are made in Italy, if you're wondering. Those were also featured on the originals. And then you have the sole plate, which does come with a warning sticker letting you know that this finish will wear off over time. It doesn't wear particularly quickly based on my experience with the original ones, but you can see from this particular angle, the side profile definitely looks red, but then as soon as you move it a little bit and it hits the light a certain way, it immediately starts to look pink. And then at the very bottom, it kind of just ends up looking orange and yellow and a little bit of purple, basically like an oil slick. Very, very cool finish. Translucent black tips to the studs themselves. And overall, I just think it looks really, really cool. So let me know your opinions on this down below in the comments. The ice variation of the shoe obviously features the exact same black base to the upper, but then features this light blue outline for the Nike swoosh on either side, the Mercurial branding on the back, the tiny little Italian flag, and then of course the chrome finish to the sole plate, which looks really good on the blue. Looks blue at all times. You got a little purple in there, but basically just different shades of blue when it hits the light from the side. It's pretty much the matching blue to what you'd find on the swoosh. And again, it is a wearable finish, but all in all, really, really cool looking shoe in the Ice Pack variation. Now comes the tough part. I'm gonna leave a little pop-up in the corner of the screen, which will reveal a poll, and you guys can vote which one you prefer, and you absolutely have to pick one. There's no option to say I like both equally as much. Do you prefer the fire or do you prefer the ice? I've been thinking about this a lot since I got these a day ago, and as much as I like the blue ones, something about these red ones just works for me. I love the look of the black and red, and initially when I saw them online, and I know a lot of people probably will disagree with me, the blue ones look really, really cool. I would have no problems wearing them, but something about the red ones, even if the sole plate looks pink, which I'm personally not a huge fan of, I just love the look of the red accented against the black. But that's my opinion. Leave yours down below in the comments. I'm curious to see which one will win, if one wins at all. It could just be 50-50, who knows? So we all know that the Flyknit Ultra definitely looks cool. It's partially why so many people are so excited about them, but the fact that this is actually an excellent shoe as well is really the part people should be excited about, because for me, like I mentioned at the start of the video, this is one of the best boots of 2017, and it is a bit of a shame that this isn't a general release product from Nike, because if it were, I really do think this would be their best Flyknit boot currently on offer. Now, the Flyknit Ultra I think can be easily summed up as being a hybrid of what you get from the Superfly 5 and the Vapor 11, the two current top-end Mercurial models from Nike. You get the Flyknit aspect of the Superfly, but you get the thinness and general touch of the Vapor 11 with this added grip sensation that we'll talk about in more detail in just a second. And of course, the sole plate and stud pattern is a direct carryover from what you get on the current generation of Mercurial. So again, from a performance standpoint, it is an amazing shoe. And if you want to learn more about the performance characteristics and you want to see the shoes in action, I did actually make a playtest video when the Flyknit Ultra came out the first time around. So if you want to see that video and you haven't seen it already, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen. And again, I cover all the details, plus you get to see me wearing the shoes in that video. So be sure to go ahead and check it out. Just because I think this is a really interesting boot, let's run through all the details. So the upper is entirely made from Flyknit. Now what's related to the Superfly 5 in regards to that Flyknit construction is the fact that it is on the thinner side, although this definitely is thinner overall than what you get from the Superfly 5 upper. What you'll find is that it's a thinner base to begin with, and then you have the speed rib texturing, which actually the raised parts just sit on top of that very thin base, as opposed to just being fairly thick and then slightly thicker in certain sections like you'd find on the Superfly. So as a whole, this is much thinner, closer to the thickness of the Vapor rather than the Flyknit upper on the Superfly, if that makes any sense at all. And then the raised parts of this Flyknit upper, as you guys can see, actually have this kind of sticky finish to it. It's very, very gritty. It almost feels like sandpaper, and it's almost like a hardened glue type texturing. That's the best way to describe it. And you have that running across the entire upper. The only parts where it isn't there is where they actually have the color filling in the Nike swoosh itself, where you can see it doesn't have that same sandpaper grittiness, but you have that across the entire upper, and it's super, super noticeable when making contact with the ball, either when dribbling, passing, especially when shooting. It's almost like a striking element, but without adding really any bulk to the shoe whatsoever. So that added grip is something that you don't get from any of the current generation Mercurials or really any current generation Nike model, period. And I really do like that aspect of the Flyknit Ultra. And because the upper is so thin and made from this knitted material, you get this barefoot sensation, very, very minimal amounts of padding against your foot between the ball. And of course, it offers that sock-like sensation because it is that knitted base. It's also a one-piece construction, so you have no overlapping materials, which feels great. The laces run through the middle. Interestingly, this does not feature Flywire cables like you would find on the Superfly 5, which you would think would hurt the responsiveness, and it does to a certain extent. This is not as responsive as the Superfly, nor is it as responsive as the Vapor, but as a whole, the structure that you get from this Flyknit base that does have synthetic lining material on the inside is still surprisingly good. There's really not much rollover to this shoe whatsoever. You feel very locked in and very secure when you have the laces tied tight. What you will find as well is that this is a low-cut Flyknit Mercurial, which we've never seen before. We do have a low-cut Flyknit shoe in the form of the Hypervenom Phantom 3 Low, but that's the only one that's been a general release. This limited edition release does feature what is just a standard low cut with this slight little extension piece that you don't feel at all. It's just there for the sake of cosmetics. So the overall fit in the heel and the cut of the shoe is very much like what you would get from the Vapor 11, which is not a bad thing at all. I did want to address a question that a lot of people asked when the Flyknit Ultra came out the first time, and that is why the Flyknit Ultra doesn't have ACC like all the other top-end models from Nike. ACC being all conditions control, their wet control element that again you do find on every single top-end model, except the Flyknit Ultra, which of course is a limited edition release. You won't find the ACC branding anywhere on the shoe. Why is that? Well, quite simply, I don't have an answer to that question. You'd have to ask Nike, but I think the simple reasoning for that is just because it's not that important. And I've talked about this many times in my video. ACC is something that I think Nike probably wasn't even expecting to be as successful as it ended up being in terms of how people bought into the concept of it. Basically, ACC is nothing that we can really prove is actually there. It's supposed to be something that's permeated to the upper to allow for better grip on the ball in wet weather playing conditions. But what I've found wearing every single top end model from Nike with ACC is that they all have a different feel on the ball in dry as well as wet conditions. So how big of an effect is ACC really having? In my opinion, I think it's really more of a mental thing for people rather than something that's actually making a tangible performance, offering any kind of tangible performance benefit to them. And I talk about this in more detail in this video. If you want to check that out, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen where I talk about boot technologies that perhaps aren't all what they're made out to be. But for the sake of the Flyknit Ultra, the fact that it does have this grittiness on the upper, in my opinion, this actually offers better grip on the ball in both dry as well as wet weather playing conditions than any other shoe Nike currently has on offer, even though it doesn't have ACC. So take that information for what it is. Moving on, of course, low cut, internal plastic heel counter, pretty much the same construction as a Vapor 11, internal synthetic leather liner, and of course the insole fully removable, also the same as what you'd find on a Vapor or a Superfly. It's this Ortholite type material with the mesh liner on the top. You're not gonna find the Nike Grip branding here. Whether or not this is actually Nike Grip, really difficult to say because the Nike Grip liners on any of Nike's insoles really don't feel like anything other than just regular mesh anyway. So again, I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's a typical Mercurial insole, which does get the job done for the most part. As far as the sole plate is concerned, the sole plate and stud pattern is taken directly from the Superfly and the Vapor. It's a direct carryover. They haven't changed a single thing. So it's the Nike Plate sole plate, which uses a special manufacturing process that allows them to use a single layer of material rather than a layered sole plate, which you'd find in a typical construction. This allows them to actually create an anatomic shape to the base. So it's not completely flat. It's got little indentations in the forefoot as well as in the heel that allows you to sit slightly in the sole plate rather than directly on top, really giving you this connected, more responsive sensation to the shoe. And I really think it's a great idea, and it works extremely well on what is a very tight-fitting Mercurial-esque shoe in the form of what is, after all, the Mercurial Vapor Flyknit Ultra, not just the Flyknit Ultra. You also get the Mercurial firm ground stud pattern, the only stud pattern on offer for this limited edition release, which is extremely aggressive and typical Mercurial. If you're buying this shoe, I think you have a pretty good idea of what you're getting into in regards to traction. The last performance thing to talk about is the weight of the Flyknit Ultra. In a size 9 US, they weigh in at 6.3 ounces, which is very, very light. One of the lightest top-end shoes you can buy right now, and pretty much on par with that of the Nike Mercurial Vapor 11, which is just a touch lighter, which is expected considering that it does have a slightly thinner synthetic upper that you would expect to be a little bit lighter overall. But is the weight difference noticeable between the Flyknit Ultra and the Vapor? No, not really. But really what you're getting here is just a super, super light shoe that feels like a pair of really tight fitting socks on your feet. So if that sounds great to you, you're probably gonna like the Flyknit Ultra if you can get a pair, of course. All right, so as you can see, I swapped out the stock black laces on the Fire colorway of the Flyknit Ultra in exchange for some red reflective SR4U replacement laces, which I think look absolutely phenomenal on this colorway, accenting with the red on the sole plate and of course the red on the swoosh and Mercurial branding at the back. Really, really like this combo. If you are interested in a pair of replacement laces for yourself, the website to go to is www.sr4ulaces.com. There'll be a little pop-up on screen as well as a link down below in the description of this video. So if you're interested in a pair, be sure to go ahead and check that out. On feet, the Flyknit Ultra is amazing to say the least. It is typical Mercurial in terms of the overall shape and way that it fits. Very, very tight with no extra space on the inside whatsoever, which is exactly what you want from this style of shoe. The Nike Plate sole plate underfoot feels fantastic, as it does with the Superfly and the Vapor 11, so that's not a surprise. And this Flyknit upper, it's thin, it's soft, it's natural in terms of its flexibility. It really does offer that sock-like sensation. Because it is a low-cut construction, it feels to me a lot more comfortable out of the box than any of the mid-cut options on offer from Nike with Flyknit uppers. So that makes a big difference in itself. And again, it's just really, really impressive. To me, this is the best Flyknit upper that Nike has ever produced, which is saying a lot because they have a lot of good ones currently available in the form of the Superfly, the Obra, as well as the Phantom 3 right now. Those are all really good, but I do like the Flyknit Ultra more. As far as the width is concerned, it's reminiscent of the Vapor and the Superfly, which are obviously very similar in width. I would say it's kind of more like the Superfly to a certain extent, but more with the slimmer profile of the Vapor, but also slightly wider than the two of those shoes. Not to the point where these are wide fitting by any means. They still fit very, very tight, so if you don't like that type of sensation, probably not a good option for you. But if you wore Mercurials in the past and you like the tight fit that they have on offer, you shouldn't have any issues fitting into the Flyknit Ultra either. And of course, when it comes to sizing, it's true to size just like the rest of the Mercurials. I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and length is perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair, I would recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So to sum up the Flyknit Ultra, it's an amazing shoe, one of the best of 2017. And if you were thinking about getting a pair, either for your collection or as your next pair of boots, which really guys, I think if you're buying these, you should buy them to wear, or if you can afford to, buy one to collect, to keep a brand new condition, and buy one to wear, because it really is an awesome experience. Like I said, truly one of the best shoes of 2017, especially if you're a Mercurial fan. There's a lot to like about this shoe, and I hope that Nike does end up releasing more in the future, perhaps in some other really nice colorways, because they've done great so far. And I hope everybody who really wants a pair of Flyknit Ultras does end up getting them, because again, the experience that this shoe has on offer is really unlike anything else that I've ever tried before. It really is special. That's pretty much it for my review. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. If you're interested in a pair of these, again, you can click the little eye in the corner of the screen and check out that video I made not too long ago talking about the best way to get these if you are interested in getting them. If you're watching this video weeks after the release, unfortunately, they are most likely sold out. I'm trying to predict the future here, but I'm pretty certain that I'm going to be right in that regard. So if it is weeks after the release, going on eBay, buying them from somebody, reselling them for more than the list price is likely what you'll have to do. And if you're wondering what the list price is, we don't know as of yet because I'm making this video prior to the official release, but I believe about $250 if it's the same as the original Flyknit Ultras. Anyways, guys, any questions, feel free to leave them down below in the comments and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you as soon as I possibly can. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. All my social media information, that's linked in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed the video and we'll see you in the next one.